1 year had passed since the surrender. The galaxy was changing. Slowly at first, then faster. Old systems fell. New systems rose. And at the center of it all stood humanity. High Sovereign Jin looked out from his palace on Central. He was the first ruler of the new human empire. A young man with old eyes. He had been born on New Hope, the frozen planet where his ancestors had hidden for 4,000 years. Now he ruled 500 star systems. "The report, sir," said his assistant. A woman named Mira. Jin took the papers and read them. Trade was increasing. Crime was decreasing. The old council species were slowly accepting human rule. Things were getting better, but not everywhere. "There is trouble in the outer systems," Myra said. "Some species refuse to accept the new order. They are forming rebel groups." Jin nodded. He had expected this. You cannot conquer a galaxy and expect everyone to be happy about it. "Send the peacekeepers," he said. "But tell them to be careful. We are not here to destroy. We are here to build." "Yes, sir." Jin returned to his window. He thought about his ancestors. About Hannah and Tay, who had fled Earth as it burned. About the generations who had lived and died on New Hope, never seeing the stars beyond the void. About Fleet Marshal Sue, who had led the return and then retired to a quiet life on a small moon. They had all sacrificed so much. And now it was Jin's job to make sure their sacrifice meant something. A message arrived later that day. It was from the archaeological team Jin had sent to the Sol system, the place where Earth had once been. "We found something," the message said. "You need to see this." Jin took a ship and flew to Sol. It took 3 days. He spent the time reading reports and making decisions. Being the ruler of a galaxy was not easy. There were always problems, always conflicts, always questions that had no good answers. The ship arrived at the edge of the Sol system. Jin looked out the window and saw nothing, just rocks and dust and empty space. This was where Earth had been. This was where 10 billion humans had lived and died. "The archaeological team is on the 4th asteroid," said the ship's captain. They landed on a gray rock that floated in the darkness. Jin stepped outside in his protective suit. The gravity was weak. The cold was deep. But he felt something else too. Something he could not explain. A presence. A memory. A ghost of what had once been. The team leader met him at the entrance to a cave. Her name was Bora. She was young and excited. "High Sovereign, thank you for coming. What we found, it changes everything." She led him deep into the asteroid. They walked through tunnels that had been carved by ancient mining machines. Finally, they reached a chamber. Jin stopped. His breath caught in his throat. The chamber was filled with objects. Human objects, books, clothes, toys, pictures, everyday things that had somehow survived the destruction of Earth. "We think this was a bunker," Bora explained. "Built before the attack. Someone must have sealed it before the end. The asteroid protected it from the worst of the destruction." Jin walked slowly through the chamber. He picked up a book. The pages were fragile but still readable. It was a children's story about a brave rabbit. He picked up a picture. A family smiled at him from across 4,000 years. A father, a mother, 2 children. They looked happy. They had no idea what was coming. Tears fell from Jin's eyes. He did not try to stop them. "There's more," Bora said gently. "In the back room." Jin followed her to a smaller chamber. In the center was a stone tablet. Words were carved into it. Simple words in an old language. "We translated it," Bora said. "It says, 'To whoever finds this, remember us. We were here. We lived. We loved. We mattered. Do not let them forget.' Signed, the last children of Earth." Jin fell to his knees. The weight of 4,000 years pressed down on him. The weight of 10 billion dead. The weight of all the hate and loss and pain that had led to this moment. "We remember," he whispered to the ghosts around him. "We never forgot. We never will." He stayed in the chamber for a long time. When he finally left, he made a decision. "This place will be protected," he announced. "We will build a memorial here. The largest memorial in the galaxy. People from every species will come here and learn what happened. They will see what was lost. They will understand why we came back." The memorial was built over the next 10 years. It was called the Garden of Memory, a massive structure floating in the space where Earth had been. Inside were museums and libraries and monuments. Outside were gardens grown from the seeds of new hope, which had come from the seeds of Earth. Every year, millions of beings visited the garden. They walked through the halls. They saw the pictures. They read the names of the dead. And they promised, as Jin had promised, to never let it happen again. Jin ruled for 50 more years. He was a good ruler, fair and wise. He made mistakes, but he learned from them. He built schools and hospitals and courts. He created laws that protected the weak from the strong. He showed the galaxy that humanity was more than revenge. On his last day, Jin sat in his garden on Central. He was old now. His hair was white. His hands shook, but his eyes were still sharp. His granddaughter sat beside him. Her name was Yuna, named after the admiral who had died protecting the last ships from Earth. "Grandfather," she said, "tell me again about the old days." Jin smiled. "Which old days? The days of Earth? The days of exile? The days of war? All of them." And so Jin told her. He told her about Hannah and Tay, who had escaped the fire. About General June, who had built the first human warships in the void. About Commander Wu, who had led the first attacks. About Fleet Marshal Su, who had accepted the Council's surrender. "And what about you, grandfather?" Yuna asked. "What did you do?" Jin thought about this. What had he done? He had ruled. He had built. He had tried to turn hate into something better. "I tried to finish what they started," he said finally. "Not with more death. Not with more fire. But with life. With hope. With a future worth living. Did you succeed?" Jin looked at the sky. Somewhere up there, the Garden of Memory floated in the darkness. Somewhere up there, the ghosts of Earth watched over their children. "I do not know," he admitted. "But I tried. That is all any of us can do. Try. And hope. And remember." He closed his eyes. The sun was warm on his face. The wind was soft. For a moment, just a moment, he thought he heard voices. Old voices. Familiar voices. The voices of 10 billion people who had died so that humanity could live. "Thank you," he whispered to them. "Thank you for everything." Jin died peacefully that afternoon. His body was taken to the Garden of Memory and placed among the relics of Earth. His name was carved on the wall with all the others. All the humans who had lived and died since the fall. And humanity continued, growing, learning, building. They spread across the galaxy. They made friends with species who had once been enemies. They created art and science and music. They lived. Sometimes, late at night, people would look up at the stars and wonder. Wonder about the ancestors who had survived the void. Wonder about the hate that had burned for 4,000 years. Wonder about the revenge that had conquered a galaxy. But mostly, they did not think about the past. They thought about the future. The future that Hannah had dreamed of as she watched Earth burn. The future that 40,000 refugees had fled into the unknown to find. A future where humanity would never be forgotten again. And so the story ended. Not with fire. Not with death. But with hope. The same hope that had kept humanity alive for 4,000 years. The hope that had brought them home. The Council homeworld was called Central. It was the heart of galactic civilization, the most powerful planet in 500 star systems. 20 billion aliens lived there. They had never known war. They had never known fear. They learned both on the day the human fleet arrived. Fleet Marshal Sue stood on the bridge of the flagship. She was the supreme commander of all human forces, the descendant of the old leader who had told her people to wait. The waiting was over now. Report, she said. Central is surrounded, Marshal. No ship can leave. No signal can escape. They are completely isolated. Sue nodded. She looked at the planet below. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Blue oceans, green forests, white clouds, just like Earth had been before the Council burned it. How many ships do they have left? 4,000 in orbit. Another 2,000 on the ground. But their morale is broken. They know they cannot win. High Counselor Mac watched the human fleet from his palace. The sky was dark with enemy ships. They blocked out the sun. For the first time in his long life, he understood what humanity must have felt 4,000 years ago. Send a message, he said to his assistant. Tell them we want to negotiate. The message went out. Sue received it on her bridge. She read it once. Then she read it again. Then she laughed. They want to negotiate, she said to her officers. How interesting. What should we reply, Marshal? Sue thought for a moment. Tell them I will meet with the High Counselor. In person, on his planet. Is that safe? No, but I want to look into his eyes. I want him to see what he created. The meeting happened in the Council chamber. It was a great hall of gold and crystal. The most powerful aliens in the galaxy had met there for 10,000 years. They had made decisions that shaped the fates of billions. Now, it was empty, except for two figures. High Counselor Mac sat at his great desk. Fleet Marshal Sue stood before him. Mac had expected a monster. What he saw was a woman. She was tall and thin. Her hair was gray. Her face was calm. Only her eyes showed the truth. They were old eyes. Ancient eyes. Eyes that had seen too much hate and pain. Thank you for meeting with me, Mac said. His voice shook slightly. I did not come to talk, Sue replied. I came to tell you what happens next. Please. There must be something we can negotiate. Money, territory, whatever you want. Sue shook her head slowly. What we wanted died 4,000 years ago. Our home, our families. Our future. Can you give those back? No, but that was not us. That was our ancestors. We are different. We have learned. Have you? Sue walked closer. Her footsteps echoed in the empty hall. Let me tell you a story. 4,000 years ago, a woman named Hannah watched Earth burn. She was a scientist, a peaceful woman. She had never hurt anyone in her life. But that day, she made a promise. A promise to make the Council pay. Hannah has been dead for thousands of years, Max said. Yes, but her hate lived on. It was passed from parent to child, generation after generation, each one adding their own anger to the fire. I am her descendant. The fire burns in me as it burned in her. Mac fell to his knees. Please, mercy. We beg for mercy. Sue looked down at him. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Was it pity? Was it doubt? But it was gone as quickly as it came. Did you show mercy to Earth? She asked. Did you show mercy to the children who burned? To the mothers who screamed? To the fathers who watched their families die? Where was mercy then? That was a mistake. A terrible mistake. We admit it. Yes, it was a mistake. The greatest mistake your council ever made. And now you will learn what that mistake cost. Sue turned and walked toward the door. Mac called after her. Wait. What will you do? Will you destroy Central? Will you kill us all? Sue stopped. She did not turn around. We discussed this. For many years we discussed it. Some wanted to burn your worlds, just like you burned ours. Fire for fire. Death for death. But we realized something. If we become like you, then you win. You would turn us into the monsters you always claimed we were. We will not give you that victory. Hope appeared in Mac's eyes. Then, you will spare us? I did not say that. Sue turned to face him. Every member of the council who voted for Earth's destruction is dead. But their families remain. Their governments remain. The system that allowed such evil remains. What do you want from us? Surrender. Complete and total. Every species that was part of the council will give up their weapons, their ships, their armies. You will live under human law, human rule, human justice. Max stared at her. You want to rule the galaxy? We want to make sure this never happens again. Not to us, not to anyone. No more species will be destroyed because someone decided they were too dangerous. No more worlds will burn because of fear. And if we refuse? Sue smiled coldly. Then we will take it by force. We have the power now. We have the ships. We have the soldiers. And we have 4,000 years of hate to fuel us. The choice is yours. Surrender and live. Fight and die. The High Counselor looked at the four. His power was gone. His fleet was gone. His allies were gone. He had only one choice left. We surrender, he said. Sue nodded. Wise decision. Your surrender will be broadcast to every system. Every planet will know that the Council fell to humanity. The species you tried to destroy. Is this your revenge? To rule over us? Partly. But there is more. Sue walked to a window and looked out at the sky. Human ships filled her view. Thousands of them. The fleet that had risen from the ashes of Earth. In 3 days, we will hold a ceremony. Every leader from every council species will attend. And at that ceremony, we will show them something. What? The video. The recording that your ancestors made when they burned Earth. Every moment of the destruction. The cities melting. The oceans boiling. The screams of 10 billion people dying. You will watch it. You will remember what was done. And you will carry that memory forever. Mac felt sick. That is cruel. Yes, it is. But it is nothing compared to what you did to us. Consider it a mercy that we do not do the same to your worlds. The ceremony happened 3 days later. 1,000 leaders from 1,000 species gathered in the Great Hall. They stood in silence as the video played. For 3 hours, they watched Earth die. Some cried. Some screamed. Some fainted. But no one looked away. UN guards made sure of that dot when it was over. Fleet Marshal Sue stood before them. Now you understand, she said. Now you know why we came back. Remember this day. Remember what you saw. And remember that humanity never forgets. We waited 4,000 years. We will wait 4,000 more if we must. Never give us a reason to come for revenge again. The leaders bowed their heads. They had no choice. The humans had won. The galaxy belonged to them now. Sue walked out of the hall. Her officers followed her. Is it over? One of them asked. Sue looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, in the empty darkness, was the place where Earth had once been. Just rocks and dust now. But she could still feel it. She could still hear the voices of the dead. The war is over, she said. But the work is just beginning. We have a galaxy to rebuild. A peace to maintain. A future to create. For humanity? For everyone? That is our true revenge. Not destruction, but creation. We will build something better than what they had. We will prove that humanity deserved to live. She walked toward her ship. Behind her, the Council homeworld began its life under new rulers. Human rulers. Rulers who had been born in fire and exile. Rulers who would never forget where they came from or why they came back. The first attack came without warning. One moment, the sky above the colony world of Vex Prime was clear and peaceful. The next moment, it was filled with ships. Governor Trix of Vex Prime was a fat alien with 6 arms and blue skin. He was eating breakfast when his assistant ran into the room. "Governor, unknown ships in orbit. Thousands of them." Trix dropped his food. "Unknown? What do you mean unknown? Send me a picture." The picture appeared on his screen. Trix stared at it. The ships were strange. They were black and angular, like nothing he had ever seen. No markings. No identification. They just hung in the sky like dark clouds. "Contact them," Trix ordered. "Find out who they are." The communication officer tried. There was no response. The ships remained silent. "Should we attack?" asked the military commander. "No. Wait. They have not done anything yet. Maybe they want to talk." They did not want to talk. The first missiles fell 3 seconds later. They moved so fast that the colony's defenses did not even see them coming. The military base exploded. Then the power stations. Then the communication towers. In less than 1 minute, Vex Prime went dark. Trix ran to his shelter. He was shaking with fear. Who are they? What do they want? No one answered. No one knew. On the lead ship, Commander Wu watched the destruction below. He felt nothing. No joy, no sadness. Just cold satisfaction. "Report," he said. "Military targets destroyed. Communication disabled. The colony is blind and helpless." "Good. Begin landing operations. Take prisoners." "I want information." The dropships fell from the sky like rain. Inside each one were 50 human soldiers. They were tall and strong. Their eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. They were not the same humans who had fled Earth 4,000 years ago. They were something new. Something better. Something terrifying. The aliens of Vex Prime had never seen humans before. To them, humans were just old stories, legends, ghosts from the past. Now, the ghosts were walking through their streets. The battle lasted only 2 hours. It was not really a battle. It was a hunt. The alien soldiers tried to fight. They shot their weapons. They screamed their war cries. They died anyway. Human soldiers moved through the smoke like shadows. They were faster than the aliens could see. They were stronger than the aliens could believe. 1 human could kill 10 aliens. 20 aliens. 50 aliens. It did not matter. The numbers were meaningless. Governor Trix was captured in his shelter. Human soldiers broke down the door like it was made of paper. They dragged him out into the light. "What are you?" Trix screamed. "What do you want?" Commander Wu walked toward him. He was calm. His face showed nothing. "We are humans," Wu said. "We have come home." Trix's 6 arms went weak. "Humans? That is impossible. Humans are dead. The Council killed them 4,000 years ago. The Council tried to kill us. They failed. But how? Where did you come from?" Wu smiled. It was not a nice smile. "From the void. From the darkness beyond your maps. We have been waiting, growing, preparing, and now we are back." Trix fell to his knees. "What do you want? Money? Resources? We can give you anything." "We do not want your money," Wu said. "We want the Council. We want every alien who voted to destroy Earth. We want justice for 10 billion dead humans. I was not even born then. None of us were. That was 4,000 years ago. Wu nodded slowly. Yes, 4,000 years. That is how long we have been waiting. That is how long we have been hating. Your ancestors killed our world. Now you will pay the price. That is not fair. Wu grabbed Trix by his collar and lifted him up. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when your council burned our children? Was it fair when they melted our oceans? Was it fair when they turned our cities to ash? Do not talk to me about fair. He dropped Trix to the ground. You will tell us everything you know about the council's defenses. You will tell us their fleet positions, their weapon systems, everything. And if I do not? Wu looked at him with empty eyes. Then Vex Prime will burn, just like Earth burned. The choice is yours. News of Vex Prime spread slowly. The council had grown lazy over 4,000 years. Their communication systems were old. Their response times were slow. By the time they understood what was happening, 3 more colonies had fallen. High Counselor Mac received the reports in his golden palace. He was the leader of the Galactic Council. His family had held power for 2,000 years. He had never known fear. He learned it now. Humans? He said. His voice was weak. That cannot be. We destroyed them. The reports are confirmed, High Counselor, said his assistant. Human ships. Human soldiers. They are attacking our outer colonies. How many ships? Our estimates say 10,000. Mac felt his heart stop. 10,000 ships. The entire council fleet was only 20,000. Half their strength had appeared from nowhere. Where did they come from? Our scouts watch every sector. They came from beyond the mapped regions, sir. From the void. The void. No one lived in the void. No one could live in the void. It was empty. It was dead. But the humans had lived there. For 4,000 years, they had hidden in the one place no one would look. And now they had returned. Send the fleet, Mac ordered. Send everything we have. Destroy them again. Destroy them completely this time. The council fleet mobilized. 20,000 ships from 50 species. It was the largest force the galaxy had seen in centuries. They would crush these human survivors. They would finish what their ancestors had started. That was what they told themselves. That was what they believed. They were wrong. Commander Wu watched the council fleet approach on his screens. He smiled. This was what they had been waiting for. All ships, prepare for battle, he said. 4,000 years of preparation. 4,000 years of hate. Today, we begin the payment. The 2 fleets met in the space between stars. Council ships fired first. Their weapons were powerful. They could destroy moons. They could crack planets, but the human ships were faster. They danced through the fire like ghosts. Their shields held against weapons that should have destroyed them. Their own weapons cut through council armor like it was nothing. The first council ship exploded. Then another. Then 10 more. Then 100 more. Commander Wu stood on his bridge and watched the enemy die. He thought about Earth. He thought about the 10 billion people who had burned. He thought about Admiral Yuna, who had given her life so that 40,000 could escape. This is for you, he whispered. This is for all of you. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the council fleet was broken. 15,000 ships destroyed. 5,000 running away. The humans lost 800. It was not a battle. It was a message. A message written in fire and death. A message that said, we are back. We are stronger. And we are not finished. The surviving council ships carried this message home. They told their leaders what they had seen. They described the human ships that moved faster than light. They described human soldiers who could not be killed. They described a hate so deep and pure that it had survived 4,000 years. The galaxy trembled. High Counselor Max sat alone in his palace. The reports lay on his desk. 15,000 ships, gone. Just like that. And the humans were still coming. What have we done? He said to the empty room. What monster have we created? He had no answer. But he would find out soon. The human fleet was moving toward the Council homeworld. And this time, there was nothing left to stop them. The revenge of humanity had begun. And it would not end until the galaxy remembered their name forever. The void was cold and empty. No stars. No planets. No life. Just darkness that stretched forever in every direction. This was where the 12 ships went. This was where humanity would hide. Hannah stood at the front of the lead ship. She was no longer the young scientist who drank coffee in Seoul. That woman had died with Earth. A new Hannah had been born in fire and loss. How much further? Asked Tae. He looked tired. Everyone looked tired. They had been flying for 3 months. The scanners found something, Hannah said. A planet. Very far from the galactic center. The Council has never been there. They do not even know it exists. The planet had no name. It was a cold world with gray mountains and frozen seas. But it had air. It had water. It had a chance. The 40,000 survivors landed on the nameless planet. They built shelters from their ships. They planted seeds they had brought from Earth. They began the long work of survival. The first year was the hardest. Many people died. The cold killed some. Sickness killed others. Some simply gave up. They sat down in the snow and closed their eyes and never opened them again. But most survived. Humans were good at surviving. It was what they did best. Hannah became one of the leaders. She was smart. She was strong. And she had something that kept her going when others wanted to quit. She had hate. Pure and clean and endless hate for the Council that had killed her world. We need to organize, she told the other leaders. They met in a cave that served as their council room. We need to plan for the future. What future? Asked an old man named Soon. We are 40,000 people on a frozen rock. We will be lucky to survive another year. We will survive 1,000 years, Hannah said. We will survive 10,000 years. However long it takes. Takes for what? Hannah's eyes were cold as the ice outside. To go back. To make them pay for what they did. Some people laughed. Some people called her crazy. But no one stopped her. And slowly, over months and years, more people began to believe Tae became the head of the military. What was left of it? They had 3 working warships and maybe 200 trained soldiers. It was not an army. It was barely a police force. We need to train everyone, Tae said. Every man. Every woman. Every child old enough to hold a weapon. The children? Someone asked. The children most of all. They are the future. They will carry our hate to the next generation. And the generation after that. Until the Council has forgotten us completely. Until they feel safe. And then we will remind them. The training began. Children learn to fight before they learn to read. They learn to hate before they learn to love. It was cruel. It was necessary. Hannah worked on the science. She studied the alien technology they had captured over the years. She learned its secrets. She made it better. The Council thinks they are the most advanced civilization in the galaxy, she said. They are wrong. They have been the same for 10,000 years. They do not change. They do not grow. They just exist. And us? Tae asked. We will change. We will grow. We will become something new. Years passed. Then decades. Then centuries. The original survivors grew old and died. But their children remembered. And their children's children remembered. The hate was passed down like a precious gift. The planet got a name. They called it New Hope, but everyone knew what it really was. It was a sword being sharpened, a weapon being built, a revenge being prepared. By the year 500, New Hope had changed. The small camps had become cities. The population had grown to 500,000. The 3 warships had become 30. A new leader emerged. His name was General June. He was the great-great-grandson of Tay and Hana. He carried their blood and their hate. "We are not ready," June told his council. "But we are getting closer." They had found other things in the void. Old alien ships from races the council had destroyed long ago. Technology that had been lost for millions of years. Secrets that could change everything. June's scientists studied these secrets. They learned to make ships that could fly faster than anything the council had. They learned to make weapons that could destroy planets with a single shot. They learned to make soldiers that were stronger and faster than normal humans. "Should we do this?" asked one scientist. "Should we change ourselves so much? Will we still be human?" June thought about this for a long time. "What is human?" he finally said. "Is it our bodies? Our blood? Or is it something else? Our memories? Our dreams? Our hate and our love?" "I do not know," the scientist said. "Neither do I, but I know this. Earth was human. Our ancestors were human. And they are dead. All of them. 10 billion humans turned to ash because the council decided we were dangerous. Maybe they were right. Maybe we are dangerous. But if we have to become monsters to make them pay, then monsters we will become." The changes began. Children were modified before they were born. They grew stronger. They lived longer. Their minds worked faster. After 1,000 years, they were no longer the same species that had fled Earth, but they still remembered. That was the important thing. They still remembered Earth. They still remembered the fire in the sky. They still remembered the promise Hana had made as she watched her home burn by the year 2000. New Hope had become a hidden empire. 10 planets. 5 million people. 300 warships. An army of soldiers who knew nothing but training and hate. And still they waited. "Why do we not attack now?" asked a young officer named Nari. She was eager for battle. They all were. The current leader was an old woman named Sue. She was calm and patient. She had learned patience from her mother, who had learned it from her mother, going back 40 generations to Hannah herself. "Because we are not ready," Sue said. "The council has 500 star systems. They have millions of ships. We have 300. We would die, just like our ancestors died. Then what do? We wait. We grow. We watch. The council does not know we exist. They think humanity is dead. That is our greatest weapon. When we finally strike, they will not see us coming." Nari was not happy, but she trusted Sue. Everyone trusted Sue. She was the wisest leader they had ever had. How much longer? Nari asked Dot. Sue looked at the stars through her window. Somewhere out there, beyond the void, was the galaxy that had tried to kill her people. Somewhere out there was the council that had burned Earth. "Another 2,000 years," she said. "Maybe less. Maybe more. However long it takes to be certain. When we strike, we will not lose. We cannot afford to lose. We have only one chance. One moment. And when that moment comes, the galaxy will learn what human hate really means." Nari nodded. She would probably not live to see the revenge. But her children might. Or her grandchildren. It did not matter. What mattered was that someday, somehow, the debt would be paid. The humans continued to wait. They continued to grow. They continued to change. And deep in their hearts, the fire burned. The same fire that had consumed Earth now lived inside them. 4,000 years after the fall, they were finally ready. The galaxy had forgotten them. The Council had erased humanity from the history books. Young aliens learned that humans were a dangerous species that had been removed long ago. A problem solved. A threat ended. They were about to learn how wrong they were. In the void beyond the maps, a fleet of 10,000 warships began to move. They were faster than light. They were stronger than stars. And they were filled with humans who had waited 4,000 years for this moment. The return had begun. The stars had always been beautiful from the bridge of the battleship Dawn of Korea. Admiral Yuna stood at the window and watched them shine. She had spent 30 years in space. She had seen many things, but she had never seen anything like what was coming toward Earth. 1,000 alien warships filled the darkness. They came from every direction. Their weapons glowed with blue light. The Galactic Council had sent them all. Yuna turned to her crew. Their faces were pale with fear. She understood their terror. The Council controlled 500 star systems. They had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. And today, they had decided that humanity must die. "Admiral," said her second officer, a young man named Day, "the Council fleet is charging weapons. They will fire in 3 minutes." Yuna closed her eyes. She thought about her home. She thought about the small house in Bizen where she grew up. She thought about her mother's garden and the smell of the sea. All of it would be gone soon. "Send a message to all human ships," she said. "Tell them to run. Tell them to take as many people as they can and run as far as possible." "But Admiral," they said, "the Council has surrounded the planet. No one can escape." "We will make a hole," Yuna replied. "We will fight them long enough for some ships to get through. That is all we can do now." On Earth, the people did not know what was happening. It was morning in Seoul. Children walked to school. Workers filled the streets. Life continued as it always had. In a small apartment, a scientist named Hana was drinking coffee. She worked for the Korean Space Agency. She studied alien languages. That morning, she received a message that changed everything. The message came from a friend on the moonbase. It said only 3 words: "They are coming." Hannah dropped her cup. Coffee spilled across the floor. She ran to her computer and checked the military channels. What she saw made her heart stop. The Council had voted. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was too dangerous. Humanity grew too fast. Humanity asked too many questions. Humanity must be removed from the galaxy. Hana grabbed her phone and called her brother. His name was Tae. He was a pilot for the emergency fleet. "I know," Tae said before she could speak. "I am already at the ship. Get to the Seoul Launch Center. I will find you." The streets were still calm when Hannah ran outside. People looked at her with confusion. They did not understand why she was running. They would understand soon. In space, the battle had begun. Admiral Yuna's fleet had only 50 ships. They faced 1,000. The math was simple. The math was death. But Yuna did not care about the math. She cared about time. Every minute she fought was another minute for people to escape. "All ships, concentrate fire on Sector 7, she commanded. "We need to break their line." The human ships moved together. They were small compared to the Council warships. But they were fast. And they were brave. Missiles flew through space. Lasers cut through the darkness. The first Council ship exploded in a ball of fire. Then another. Then another. But for every Council ship that died, 5 human ships were destroyed. The numbers were too great. The enemy was too strong. On Earth, the news had spread. People ran through the streets. They screamed and cried. They looked up at the sky, and saw the flashes of battle. Hannah reached the Soul Launch Center. Thousands of people were already there. They pushed against the gates. They begged to be let inside. She found Tay near a small transport ship. He was loading people on board. Old people, young people, children, anyone he could save. Hannah, he shouted, get on the ship. We leave in 2 minutes. How many can we take? She asked. 300. Maybe 400 if they stand. Hannah looked at the crowd outside the gates. There were 10,000 people there. Maybe more. She felt tears on her face. We cannot save them all, Tay said quietly. We can only save some. In space, Admiral Yuna watched her fleet die. Only 12 ships remained. But they had done the impossible. They had created a small gap in the Council line. Small ships were flying through it. They were escaping. The Admiral, they said. His voice was shaking. The enemy flagship is targeting us? Yuna nodded. She had known this moment would come. How many ships escaped? 12 transport ships. Approximately 40,000 people. 40,000. Out of 10 billion. It was nothing. It was everything. Tell the remaining ships to follow the transports, Yuna said. Protect them until they reach safe space. What about us? Yuna smiled sadly. We stay. We give them more time. The Council flagship fired. A beam of pure energy crossed the darkness. It hit the Dawn of Korea in the center. Yuna felt the ship shake. Alarms screamed. Fire spread through the corridors. She grabbed the console to stay standing. It was an honor, she said to her crew. It was an honor to serve with you. The second blast tore the ship apart. Admiral Yuna died looking at the stars she had loved all her life. Below, Earth began to burn. The Council fleet fired their planet-killing weapons. Oceans boiled. Mountains melted. Cities turned to ash in seconds. Tay's ship was one of the 12 that escaped. He and Hannah watched through a small window as their home world died. They watched as everything they knew disappeared in fire and light. Hannah held her brother's hand. She did not cry anymore. She had no more tears. She had only one thing left inside her. Hate. Where do we go? Tay asked. Away, Hannah answered. Far away. Beyond the maps. Beyond the stars they know. And then? Hannah looked at the burning earth one last time. She made a promise in her heart. A promise to everyone who died. A promise to the planet that gave her life. And then we wait, she said. We grow strong. And one day, we come back. The 12 ships turned away from the fire. They flew into the unknown darkness. The Galactic Council watched them go and laughed. 12 small ships. 40,000 humans. They were nothing. They would die in the void. The Council was wrong. They would learn just how wrong they were. But that lesson would come later. That lesson would come in 4,000 years. And when it came, the galaxy would burn just as Earth had burned. The humans vanished into the darkness. And the galaxy forgot them. That was its greatest mistake.